Good evening, reader. This is on Frontier IP, and so today we had the uh, half year report. So this is I thought rather than write an article, there's there's not really that much to say about it all. So the half year results were very much kind of a non-event really, but it's just an opportunity to just let's think about where this is at. So I mean, this stuff here, the pre-tax loss of 1.6, I mean, this 1.6 is just the cost of keeping the lights on. So the people that are employed by Frontier IP, the people that are working with the portfolio companies, basically the cost of running the show is about 3.8 million a year. So pre-tax loss of 1.6 is essentially there was a couple of 100,000 revenue, there was 1.8 of cost, so it's a 1.6 loss. So nothing to see here. Obviously, this prior period profit would have been sale of Excentia shares, the one that floated into the US and was sold off. There was a fundraise, and I think my prior video I talked about that fundraise. So and I think we talked about how that that money was so if we kind of have a look and just recap, basically the holdings are split out across kind of stage 1 to stage 6. So this is Excentia. Really need to work out how to pronounce that thing, but anyway, the one that's been sold, which you can see there, the 2.3 million, that's basically the profit that you see in the prior period. Good amount of, in fact, majority of stuff, and this is where they're at commercial milestones and so they're sort of beyond the sort of early stage, stage 4. So they haven't yet hit break even, because when they do, they kind of get to the fifth stage, and then once they float or get acquired, they then go into the 6th stage. So the majority of the portfolio is here, which is good. That's positive. What we can see is in the period that we had some really small movements. So tiny bit of loss, £60,000 loss on one I think it was debt holding. Some additions, 0.37 million net. So you can see that 5.91 is that 5.91 there, and that 33.2, which basically it's just not moved at all. So there's been no upwards valuations, no downward valuations in the period. So that number there is that number there. Okay. And basically we can see the cash that's been added to the balance sheet there. So that's the additional cash. But bearing in mind, obviously 3.8 per year of costs, 1.9 in a 6-month period. Obviously that and that, 5.8. So there's enough cash to keep the lights on for about 18 months, something like that. So until another 15 months, and then either something needs to have been sold, or another fundraise will be required, or some combination of the pair. Or so that's kind of where we stand. The NAV is 70.4p. I don't think I've seen that written down anywhere, but let's see if we can find that in the article. It should that should be oh yeah, net assets of 67.6p. So that's so that's obviously a drop from the 79.7. But again, that's largely down to that's going to be largely down to the fundraise. So obviously the number of shares has diluted the assets, but also just down to that loss there as well. But these net asset values, obviously that's at a small fraction of today's share price, which is 25p, I think, something like that. So if we just go and look that up quickly, there you go. Yeah, oh, in fact, there we go. Yours for 24p. So it's yeah, it's dropped by quite a bit. So obviously people didn't like the news. You know, the news being sort of there was almost no news. But of course, I suppose what people are doing is they're looking at the word loss and kind of reading that as like, oh well, you know, time to get out. You know, rather and looking at the loss of or the reduction of the net asset value, forgetting that there's been a fundraise and more shares have been issued. So it's I don't know, like I find it a bit crazy that people panic the way they do, and you know, from what I can see, obviously that's where am I getting that from? So I'm getting that from that number divided by that number there. So presumably the shares in issue are higher than that for it to be at 67.4. But as you can see, I mean that 67.4 versus so what would it be? 24 pence there. You know, we're looking at these vast amounts of discount to the and I suppose the way I was kind of looking at this or rationalizing it the last time I was looking at this chart was to say, well, you know, once you strip out the cash, that's basically you know, this current assets bit here where it goes from 60%, 64% to 75% because I'm taking out that 9 million from the 16 million. But really, you've only got to get sort of even just one of these doing something in 2025. I mean, a Lucid is a candidate for the, and I called them the escape committee because these are the ones that, of these stage fours, they're the most likely for something to happen. So, I mean, maybe let's spend a little bit of time looking at sort of the news flow with those ones. So, starting with a Lucid, so um, let's grab a Lucid news flow. So, I think the major thing there, I mean, this is the floor tiles company, so they're doing floor tiles made out of recycled materials, lower CO2, more environmentally friendly. They're selling them into Tops Tiles. They're selling them into the business part of Tops Tiles, but they're also selling them into this Dutch company called Front. And in this article here, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of where I talked about, you know, this is the Front project page. And I mean, you can see that they're doing some really, really stunning projects and usages for floor coverings, wall coverings, and so on. So that's obviously a positive. Now the CEO of Elucid has talked about raising an IPO when the time is right. So I think that is covered today in the update. So yeah, exploring options for an IPO subject to market conditions. So obviously today in the spring statement, Chancellor of the Exchequer said that she's exploring ways in which she can sort of cut down on hoarding of cash ISAs and encourage stuff into the stock market. So obviously nothing concrete out of today, but who knows? I mean, if this did float and if this did float for, you know, 30, 40 million, let's say, you know, 35% of that, I mean, that's pretty much the market cap of Frontier, isn't it? So I'm not saying that that's definitive or that's certain, but it gives you an idea, and certainly the um, certainly the you know the statistics coming out of Tops Tiles was that the sale of those tiles within Tops is growing double digit sales growth. I think it was 17% if memory serves. So looking good for Elucid. Pulsive similarly, I mean, they won this award, which is lovely. The Power Source Manufacturers Association, we're all sort of familiar with that association, aren't we? So, but yeah, this is essentially where Pulsive are able to um, just produce power without wasted heat, or with very minimal wasted heat. So the point with Pulsive is that it uses fewer components, allows a more compact design, um, allows major manufacturers, to be the most energy efficient design. 94% average peak. Now the average, I think, for most other non-pulsive is about 50. So basically, if you put your hand on a plug and the plug's warm, the reason it's warm is because it's wasting electricity. It's, there's resistance, and it's turning the electricity into heat, which obviously is wasted energy. Now this could well have a military application, because you imagine you've got drones that you want to keep in the air for days and days and weeks and all the rest of it. So there's all sorts of applications where Pulsive could be used to, elongate the fly time of an unmanned aerial vehicle, a UAV. All sorts of possibilities. I think, obviously the 65 watt USB charger. This USB-C, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but this is kind of not your normal USB that you plug into an iPhone, but it's like a USB that you plug into, say, your laptop. I've got a USB-C on the side of my laptop. Now, one of the interesting things that I'd read about was that 65 watts is kind of what would power a laptop. But then, say, for example, my monitor that I've got up here and I've got another one over there, those require more energy than 65 watts. I think those are more towards, say, 200 watts. And then you can have other devices that are more higher energy intensive. So Pulsive are also able to just increase at higher levels of power as well. So the potentially the days of the 3-pin socket, or the European 2-pin, or the American 2-prong approach to, everyone's got their own different sockets, that we could see a future where all of that gets chucked in the bin, and instead everything is plugged in via a USB-C as the universal, and that could be a universal. And you imagine how much, well, how much power that would save if you've not got warming up plugs that are at 50% power efficiency, but also just that, every manufacturer makes one type of plug for anywhere in the world, and everyone uses it. I mean, it'll take time for that to catch on, but saying that, I mean, back in the day nobody used USB sockets, and now everyone does. So it's possible. So that, Pulsive is actually the biggest of the holdings, and that one could we could be surprised with that one actually turning commercial in some way, or some sort of monetization event this year. It's not impossible. And then we've got Cambridge Raman, uh, which is all to do with the solar modules, and they've had backing from the Saudi Arabians. Aramco is the corporate venturing arm of Aramco. So that's a big Kingdom of Saudi Arabia oil company, pretty much. So £1 million raised through them. So this again, the thing with solar is that they're constantly struggling and trying to get down the cost of solar modules, and improve the efficiency. So if this can, through the graphene electrodes, make it cheaper and better. But also it's things like, a lot of silver gets used in solar. So if there's opportunities for graphene electrodes to replace expensive metal, and in particular silver electrodes. I mean, I've been debating this with one of my readers where they said, "Oh, yes, I think," because I think I wrote an article where I said I don't think silver will go up because I'm reading a lot of things where there's just replacement to silver, and this is an example of it actually. That there's a technology, graph energy tech, which could actually, that's not Cambridge RAM. I'm thinking about it, so apologies. It's got the word Cambridge in it, so we'll come back to Cambridge Ramen in a second, but I'll just finish this point here. Graph energy tech is nevertheless a way in which you can uh, when you've got trillions of pounds worth of solar, and I think I might have mentioned it in here in this article, if so the solar $3 trillion investment base of solar parks and panels worldwide. So there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. So if you could put in something that improves the efficiency of that 3 trillion base of panels, then that, and there's a lot of that going on. I've seen, again, just through different investment companies, where they're swapping out the inverters to more efficient inverters because that will provide a very, very clear return on investment. So that's that one. So yeah, back to Cambridge. Let's find the right Cambridge this time. And Cambridge Raman Imaging. So a loan was made. And is there any news flow? No, there's not. So there we go. Anyway, that's another one that's on the escape committee. So then it was Cam Graphic, which is the one that was in this article here. So let's chat GPT, graphene photonic transceivers. I don't know if anybody got that, but that was kind of let's chat that. So this is basically very, very high profile backers to a Series A funding round. For Cam Graphic, they're investing 25 million euros. That's going to go into scaling up production. This is for graphene-based transceivers. Again, it's energy efficiency. It's got military application. There's a lot of input from different industry, military, and that's basically pushing ahead as soon as, really. So they're building a pilot plant. They're looking to apply that into data centers, into some defense stuff, related stuff, but it's also got very strong backing from the Italian government. So again, very, very interesting. The next one, Nandi, and I it's only on the sort of second or third read of this interim report that I spotted this. So this is quite interesting. So obviously they've raised this 500,000, and Nesta is that very, very large social enterprise that backs different technologies, and is sort of a national lottery funded, but now is sort of kind of got its own momentum going, where it's on a not-for-profit basis backing technologies that will benefit mankind and the United Kingdom. So anyway, the thing that I spotted, and as I say, I didn't spot it first time, was and Frontier have got a 19.8 stake in Nandi. So Nandi's protein technology transforms commodity proteins into functional food ingredients. This was the bit that I spotted that I went, "Ooh, hello." Sorry, the company has signed a commercial agreement. Now, prior to this, we knew that they were exploring signing a commercial agreement, that they were doing some tests, they were doing some They were doing some you know, piloting, but they've signed a commercial agreement with a global food ingredients company who will manufacture and take to market the commercial ingredients, which are collagen-based meat and fat replacers for use in processed meat products such as sausages, burgers, reducing the calorie and cost. Now, burgers and sausages, A, are not the healthiest of foods, number one. B, tend to be quite price sensitive, you know, and you've only got, if you watch the Apprentice recently, the poor lady got fired on the spot pretty much instantaneously for buying the Aberdeen Angus sausages when she could have bought the cheaper sausages and made a profit and beaten the tomato team. But no, she went for the quality sausage, lost a whole load of money, and it all ended terribly badly for Team Potato, I think they were called. Anyway, that aside, um, that to me was the highlight of today's news. So, you know, anybody who is among uh, the crazy I don't know what word I'll call you, but you know, the crazy people that have sold this down today, like you did not read that bit about Nandy, because if you had, I don't think you would have sold. I think you would have bought some more and gone, whoopee doo. I'm able to buy this at 24p. Whereas if you've gone and sold it at 22p, dear me. So yeah, look, I really liked that news there about the fact that it's going ahead. You know, that's fantastic. That's exactly what we want. The company is also developing a second product, a vegetable protein-based egg white replacer, for use in meringues, alternative meat products. Now, again, this is interesting because uh, Robert Kennedy Jr., our whatever his name is, over in the US, you know, he has made the very valid point that a lot of the vegan sausages and you know sort of plant-based foods are actually full of nonsense and not as healthy, because you'd imagine that they would be or should be healthy. But he's actually made the point of, well no, hang on a minute, like just because they are non-meat, that doesn't make them sort of automatically healthy. And he has got a point. I mean, I think some of it was probably a little bit um but he has got a point that, you know, so actually to have something that is um you know, replacing methyl cellulose, a widely used binder, you know, to replace chemical emulsifiers, that's all for the good. That is all for the good, because that's sort of, you know, the ultra processed foods problem. That's the problem with a lot of the vegan plant-based food, is that it's ultra processed, and of course ultra processed can be bad in other ways, like it can, you know, potentially allegedly cause cancer and other problems that, you know, so it 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 looks like a very, very positive positive news there as well. I mean, we did know about this egg white, that but I think the bit that wasn't clear, or at least wasn't clear in my mind, I don't know whether you know all of this and you're sort of saying, like, oak bloke, you're not really telling me anything here. But I mean, I was aware of the egg white replacer, but I wasn't aware that they were actually just developing it. I thought that that existed, but it doesn't. They're developing it. That's the news. Uh, and that they've got this 500,000, which again is not news. That's, we knew about the Nesta investment. But also, this is interesting. Nesta has also agreed to raise a further million. Now, the potential or the likelihood is that further fundraise could be at a premium. Now, the valuation of Nandi is about 5 million quid, where this 19.8% is worth 1 million quid. Okay, so if they're raising valuation, just I'm just plucking numbers out there. What that would do is that would double the valuation of the 20% share of Frontier, or maybe not double, but likelihood is that it'll be an up round, potentially an up round. I mean, the fact that they've got their first commercial agreement is really positive. If this product can do something really significant around that space, because again, I don't think, apart from using chemical emulsifiers, which sound a bit nasty, and methyl cellulose, which sounds a bit nasty, and just sort of out of interest, there we go. And I sorry, I haven't sort of gone and looked at this beforehand, but this is highly processed ingredients that negatively affect your health and wellness. It's used as a thickener in bread or ice cream. uh, I mean, you wouldn't really know that, would you, unless you went and googled it, as I've just done. But the fact that Nandi could replace that, that could be, and not being funny, but if it's used in a thickener in bread or ice cream, commonly found in laxatives. Oh, there we go. So laxatives aren't good for you either. Yeah, I mean, you would imagine that that is a pretty large market size. That uh, How large is the market size? Well, there we go. There's your answer. Look, so it's wow. So it's a couple of billion size market growing at 4% allegedly. So yeah. Look, I mean, to me, the Nandi was the real big news. The rest of it's news that we've already had, but I think the thing to take from today is that this whole thing doesn't in itself contain any new revelations apart from, I think, this Nandi news. But it's all sort of progressing kind of as we expecting, really. The final one, obviously, the vaccine group, which is this one here. I mean, again, this is the second largest, 5.5 million. I mean, what we do know is that there's various different grants, Innovate UK grants. So all of that, the million to develop. So there's a lot of money going into those areas, and of course there is news and news flow about how various different for example, if we went and looked at uh, eggs. Eggs. So if we go into here and have a look at eggs, commodities and eggs, which are here. Look, egg US. Um, okay, that's interesting. So the egg prices are starting to come down, but these egg prices, yeah. So you can see they sort of hit. That's interesting. I hadn't realised they'd come down as much as that, but we got to a point where within the last few weeks there was $8. So that's about £6 for a dozen eggs. So you think, like, you go to your local UK supermarket and a dozen eggs is what, £1.50, £1.30. I should be a politician. I know how much a pint of milk is. I know how much a dozen eggs are. Yeah, I'm not a politician. Never want to be a politician. Thank you very much. But anyway, yeah. So obviously but even $3. I mean, $3 is still £2.40. So that's still probably double a British egg. And yeah, $8.17, of course, but why did it go so high? Why was it, did we have was it the new Bitcoin? No, eggs went up in price because of zoonotic disease. Um, and that's kind of what these guys are working on is basically different. I mean, not specifically for chickens, but quite a lot to do with uh, um, porcine or pig. The Streptococcus suis being pig as well. So yeah, that's kind of that and bovine, obviously cow diseases. So there's mainly sort of pigs and uh, but also this whole area here around sort of pets and see the money that goes into pets, that canine cancers and feline immunodeficiency virus. I mean, they're potentially very large markets because of the extent that people are now going to look after their pets and the treatments that are available to pet owners. So um, there we go. Anyway, that's enough from me. That's I kind of thought this would be a 10-minute video and it's turned into 30, but hopefully that's useful. So you can certainly read about Frontier IP on the oakbloke.substack.com. By all means, like the video, subscribe. Really appreciate your support. If you want to subscribe to my Substack, then again, just sort of there's a link here to subscribe. So just click there and you'll get updates. So yeah, that's everything from me. Oak Bloke here, signing off. Cheerio for now. Cheerio.